I sat down with a Middle East geopolitical expert, Trita Parsi, PhD, who's been on many news stations from CNN to Fox. That's the list. And he's been on Unfiltered a couple of times, and I'm glad that we got a chance to sit down for a brief few minutes. I asked him a few questions. He has a lot of information out on social media and on his website, the Quincy Institute. Some of the articles that you've said. Let's put slide 25 up. There's a lot of Jewish Americans, Jewish Israelis, including a lot of rabbis protesting against what's shaping up in Gaza, the starvation of human beings. Tucker Carlson did an interview with, I think it was a former Green Beret person that was just came back from one of the aid centers and described how people are held back. Gates are then let open. They have to run for about 8 to 10 kilometers to get to an aid center. And many times, IDF soldiers are shooting ahead, over their heads and to their sides to kind of keep them in line. And this is inside Gaza, by the way. The 8 centers, there's, let's put up slide 28. That's the areas at the bottom. There we go. The Gaza 8 sites in the red at the bottom. The 3 of them at the bottom. That only those areas available of delivering aid. 80% of Gaza has been bombed by Israel, and a humanitarian crisis. Even President Trump said yesterday, he said it's horrible. He's seen it's horrible, and it's happening because aid is not being allowed to enter through United Nations, through peacekeeping forces, to save over 2 million people from starving to death in the year 2025. Really shame on us. We're going to bring back we'll start with segment 1 of the video, and here's a question that I asked. What is another country that has used famine? Is there a recent country that has used famine as a weapon of war? Is there any recent history where you've witnessed other nations use hunger and famine as a weapon?
I think the last case is in Somalia, in which there was an effort in 2010. I don't think it was as extensive and as deliberate as we are seeing it right now. And keep in mind, when it comes to the death toll, when we say that there's 60,000 dead, that's because the Gaza Humanitarian health ministry in Gaza has been able to identify and confirm those deaths. But northern Gaza City, is essentially a no-go zone. No journalists, no aid workers have been able to enter it for quite some time. Aerial footage of it just recently came out, and it's completely destroyed. There are likely thousands of dead there under the rubble that are not part of what is being counted. So when all of these numbers come together, and at some point the world will see what Israel and through the support of the United States and Europe have been doing in Gaza, once the world sees that, then I think it will be quite clear that this was a genocide, that this was not in any way, shape, or form even close to being proportionate to what Hamas did on October 7th.
Bill, any comments on that?
No, I would just, the slide before on this, Darius, you showed the column about Israel must open its eyes. It can defeat Hamas without starving a single child. That was written by a New York Times columnist, David French. And a lot of people are going, oh, New York Times, typical liberal stuff. David French is an Iraq war veteran. He fought there for 2 years, and he describes himself as a Christian Zionist. So he believes in the right of Israel to exist and all the reasons that are given for this. And he's a strong supporter of Israel. And what he has seen there led to this column. Israel must open its eyes. Why are we starving children? And in the column, he talks about what you've talked about several times, Darius. He talks about his experience in Iraq, where instead of bombing people, they went out and they went in the villages. They learned the lay of the land. They told the local people, we're going to build this infrastructure for you. We're going to build this mosque. We're going to build this food kitchen. We're going to get things operating. For us to do that, we need you to point to where the bad guys are. And that's what they did. This guy lived it. He knows it. And again, he's a self-described Christian Zionist, and he's very upset. And I think when someone who has supported Israel as strongly as David French blows the whistle on Netanyahu and the starvation there and the cruelty and the bombing, I think that a lot of other Christian Zionists, including supporters of Israel that watch this show, they should really start thinking twice. This isn't about politics. This is about right and wrong.
The atrocities and this genocide that's shaping up at the hands of the Israeli government, and they're disappointed why our government doesn't get more involved in delivering aid. I mean, we deliver aid all over the world, and we have. But when it comes to this, where we've supplied most of the weaponry, and that has helped destroy 80% of that Gaza Strip, we're not providing the aid. And Trita talked a lot about influence over Washington. Any comments on that?
So I want to go back to this, and yes, I'm an old man, but when I was a kid, one of the first things you learned in history was about the Berlin Airlift. So here you had the Russians post World War II trying to starve the German people in Berlin. Why? Because Russia basically wanted to take over Germany. And in the United States, we had just fought this deadly, terrible war against Hitler's war machine. Would have been very easy for American leaders to say, well, forget about the Germans. So what if they starve? What did we do? We put our men and women in the Air Force, we put them in the air, they delivered goods night after night so that these people didn't starve. This is what America used to be about. And today we have a very unfortunate set of circumstances. We have AIPAC, which certainly has a right to exist and to get the Jewish message out and educate American officials about what's going on there. But they've become so powerful. You have all these congressmen that just bow down to them. And so they swallow the Kool-Aid, they vote the AIPAC line, and that's been bad. And so some people watching tonight will just say, well, Bill, you're against President Trump. No, Joe Biden had no independence. Joe Biden's the one that got the ball rolling on this. Joe Biden would talk about American values, and then he would let Israel persecute the war the way it wanted to. And then Trump just continued that. So this has been Democrats and Republicans aiding and abetting. And then the other very unfortunate situation exists in Israel. Netanyahu wants to hang on to power. He's not willing to give it up at any cost. To retain his control of Israel, he had to get in bed with the kooks of Israel, the far, far right. And those people are the ones really directing this policy. As you say, Darius, millions of Jews around the world don't back this war. They don't recognize Israel and what it's doing. They're aghast by it. But in Israel, you have this small group of people, and they believe, as you say, they believe Palestinians are just animals, it doesn't matter. This is our opportunity to force them to the sea. This is our opportunity to erase Palestine from the face of the earth, and we get this territory that we desperately need.
It's really appalling to see this happen in this day and age. We're not in World War II, we're not in World War I era. To see this happen, we've said so many times, we not allow another genocide. We're going to go liberate countries from occupation, from genocide, and it's really so much against America's values, against Jewish values to see this happen. Again, I want to reiterate, I have many Jewish friends, both here in Fresno, across the country, across our nation, and in other parts of Europe where my high school friends immigrated to. And I haven't talked to all of them, but I know if I talk to all of them, they would all be against what's shaping up in that part of the world. I do have a few very aggressive Zionist Jewish friends, American Zionist, and they support. Well, I haven't talked to them about over the last 12 months, but several years back, they had different ideas on what needs to happen in that part of the world. But overwhelming majority of my Jewish friends are also ashamed of what's happening, shaping up in that country. We see a lot of protests by rabbis, by scientists, by folks that were actually rallying against Prime Minister Netanyahu on October 6th, 2023, who are involved in every aspect of Israeli life, that don't want to have anything to do with this. And long term, this is going to be a stain on Israel. Israel which was supposed to be a beacon of democracy in a part of the world that is filled with a lot of Arab dictatorships and totalitarian regimes. Unfortunately, it's committing acts that are so far against America's values. And yet we're supporting and funding. Trita does not call it a war, occupation, destruction, genocide, whatever it is that you want to call it. I'm going to bring Bill in for final comments before we wrap up.
Well, Darius, just in regard to this, you say it's against American values. The other thing that's happening is you have people that hate Jews, they're anti-Semitic, and Israel now is feeding them as well. In addition to radicalizing people in the Middle East against Israel and the United States of America. And we've seen this rise of anti-Semitism in the United States. It's being documented. And that to me is really sad. I'd love to see the end of it. Shouldn't be judging people by race or creed or anything else. That's the American value. And yet in our country today, because of what's going on and because how the United States is propping up Israel, anti-Semitism again is on the rise. And I'll close with this. You can criticize Israel, what it does as a nation, its tactics, its policies, it could be economics, it could be on any issue. That doesn't make you anti-Semitic, though some people try to brand you that way. We all know better, and shame on Israel for even raising that kind of thought. It's just so weak.